Beloved, have you ever wondered why God sometimes delays the fulfillment of His promises in your life? It's not because He has forgotten you or turned His face away. Instead, it's because He is carefully preparing you for something far greater than you can imagine. Before the blessings of His promises can fully manifest, God desires to cultivate within you an unwavering, rock-solid faith. A faith that doesn't waver in the storms of life or falter in moments of uncertainty. This kind of faith isn't formed overnight, nor is it born in ease. It is forged in the fires of testing, where our feelings and emotions, those unreliable companions, are stripped away, leaving us utterly dependent on Him. Only when we learn to trust in His voice above all else can we become the vessels He has called us to be. In these extraordinary days, God is raising and equipping a chosen remnant, a group of remarkable men and women who will embody His kingdom's purpose with power and clarity. These chosen ones are not limited to the confines of ministry. Their calling extends to the furthest reaches of society. They are being positioned to influence education, reshape the business world, revolutionize media, and bring light to every corner of human life. Wherever human influence exists, these individuals are being sent as divine ambassadors to establish His kingdom on earth. However, this sacred calling is not for everyone. Those who will be used mightily by God must possess qualities shaped through fire and trials. They must prove their readiness and worthiness by undergoing a process of refinement that tests their faith, obedience, and endurance. These tests are not for the faint-hearted. They demand resilience, sacrifice, and an unshakable trust in God's timing and plan. In this video, we will uncover 3 crucial tests that every chosen one must pass before stepping into the fullness of their calling. These tests will stretch you, challenge you, and push you to the very limits of your faith. But don't be discouraged. These trials are God's way of equipping you to handle the great responsibilities He has destined for you. I urge you, beloved, do not skip any part of this message. Each section contains vital insights that will help you understand the season of life you're in and avoid moving prematurely before God's work in you is complete. Rushing this process could mean forfeiting the greatness God has planned for your life. His preparation is thorough and intentional, ensuring that no area of your life is left untouched by His refining hand. Are you someone who feels the weight of this extraordinary calling? If so, take a moment to affirm your faith. Please press the like button, subscribe to our channel, Power Within Awakening, and comment below with 999, a symbol of spiritual refinement and transformation. When we publicly declare our faith and commitment, it's a way of aligning ourselves with God's purpose and inspiring others to do the same. I encourage you to stay with us until the end of this video. Understanding these tests in their entirety will not only prepare you for the road ahead, but also give you the wisdom to discern God's hand in your life. If this message speaks to you, share it with someone who needs encouragement today. Together, we can walk this journey of faith, fully equipped and ready for the remarkable destiny God has prepared for His chosen ones. Test 1. The test of faith. The first and perhaps most foundational test every chosen one must endure is the test of faith. This test is not about superficial belief or temporary trust. It is about cultivating an unwavering, immovable faith. A faith that remains steadfast even when the very ground beneath you seems to crumble. Picture this. Life begins to feel like a storm-tossed sea. Circumstances start to unravel, and every promise you've clung to from God seems farther from fulfillment. In these moments, it's not uncommon to wonder, where is God? Why is this happening to me? Yet, this very tension is where the test of faith takes root. God allows such seasons not to harm you but to stretch and grow you. These times challenge you to look beyond what your physical eyes can see, beyond the doubts that whisper lies into your heart, and beyond the fleeting comfort of your feelings. Instead, you are called to stand on the eternal truth of His Word, a a truth that remains unshaken no matter what storms rage around you. In this process, God often stretches you beyond your mental and emotional limits. He takes you to a place where relying on human understanding is no longer enough. It's uncomfortable, even painful at times, but it is within this discomfort that God reshapes your faith into something extraordinary. This is not a faith built on convenience or fleeting emotions, but one anchored in His promises, unshaken by circumstance or adversity. Remember the words of James 1:3-4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. This passage is a cornerstone for understanding why trials are essential. They are not merely obstacles to endure, but tools that God uses to refine and strengthen your spirit. Without these tests, your faith would remain fragile and immature, but with them, perseverance is born, and through perseverance, spiritual maturity is achieved. True faith shines brightest in the darkest valleys. It's easy to believe in God's goodness when life is smooth, but the faith that pleases God is forged in the fires of adversity. These trials teach you to see beyond temporary struggles and recognize the hand of God working all things for your good. When you face these challenges, it's crucial to remember God is not distant. His presence is not limited to moments of joy and success. He is as close to you in your struggles as He is in your triumphs. The feelings of distance are part of the refining process. God wants you to trust His word more than your emotions. This is why He trains us to live not by sight or feelings, but by faith. Consider the story of the Israelites wandering in the wilderness. God provided manna each day. Not a week's supply, just enough for that day. This daily provision taught them to rely on Him fully. Similarly, in your season of testing, God will provide you with what you need to endure. Not always in abundance, but always enough to sustain you and deepen your reliance on Him. Beloved, understand this. The trials you face are not meant to break you. They are designed to build you into a vessel strong enough to carry the weight of the calling God has placed on your life. Each challenge is a divine opportunity to grow, to trust, and to solidify your faith. God, like a master craftsman, is laying each brick of your faith with care. He is molding it to withstand any storm, any attack, and any temptation. Why? Because the fulfillment of His promises requires a faith so strong that it cannot be shaken. Not by the doubts of others, not by the lies of the enemy, and not by the difficulties of life. In these last days, God is looking for men and women whose faith stands firm. He will stretch you beyond your comfort zone to create a foundation built entirely on His word. It is His word that becomes your anchor, your compass, and your lifeline. So, how do you persevere through the test of faith? 1. Fix your eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of your faith. When all else is uncertain, He remains the solid rock beneath your feet. 2. Hold tightly to His promises, even when they seem far from reality. God's timing is perfect, and He is never late. 3. Surround yourself with fellow believers who will uplift and encourage you in the midst of trials. Community strengthens faith. 4. Immerse yourself in His word. Speak it over your life, believe it with all your heart, and let it guide your prayers. Beloved, if you're in a season of testing, do not lose heart. These trials are not evidence of God's absence, they are proof of His investment in your life. He is refining you, shaping you into a chosen vessel fit for His divine purposes. Stay strong, remain faithful, and you will emerge from this trial with a faith that cannot be shaken. Remember, it is through faith that we please God, and it is through trials that our faith is made perfect. The test of faith is not an obstacle but an opportunity, a divine invitation to step into the fullness of God's promises for your life. Test 2. The test of time and patience. One of the most profound and challenging tests God puts His chosen ones through is the test of time and patience. While it might seem like a frustrating delay, This test serves a divine purpose, to develop the essential virtue of patience within us. This process goes against our human nature, which has been conditioned since the fall in the Garden of Eden to act independently of God, rather than in full dependence on Him. After humanity's separation from divine guidance, selfishness and impatience became ingrained in us. We began striving for control, seeking immediate gratification, and avoiding waiting at all costs. Yet God, in His infinite wisdom, understands that patience is a cornerstone of spiritual maturity and effectiveness. Without it, we risk operating out of our own strength, which can lead to exhaustion, failure, and misalignment with His will. This is why God carefully tests our ability to wait on Him, preparing us for the greater purposes He has in store. Consider the story of Joseph, who spent over a decade enduring betrayal, slavery, and unjust imprisonment. God revealed Joseph's future through dreams, showing him that he would rise to a position of great authority. Yet the fulfillment of those dreams did not come immediately. Joseph had to endure years of hardship, during which he learned that his gifts and abilities did not originate from himself but from God. This time of waiting wasn't wasted. It was a season of refining. Joseph's experiences humbled him, teaching him to depend fully on God rather than on his own understanding or efforts. When the appointed time came, Joseph was not only ready to step into his role as a leader, but was also equipped with the wisdom, humility, and patience necessary to handle the responsibility. Similarly, God often gives us glimpses of the destiny He has for us, perhaps through prophetic words, dreams, or a deep sense of calling. These revelations ignite a fire within us, but they rarely come to fruition immediately. Instead, God places us in the test of time, asking us to wait patiently while He refines our character and aligns our desires with His will. The story of Abraham serves as another powerful illustration of this test. God promised Abraham that he would become the father of many nations, yet it took 25 years for this promise to be fulfilled. During those years, Abraham faced moments of doubt and impatience, even taking matters into his own hands at times. Yet ultimately, his faith and trust in God's timing triumphed. God uses delays to assess our hearts. Are we willing to trust Him even when the fulfillment of His promises seems far off? Are we willing to surrender our timelines, ambitions, and impatience, acknowledging that His ways are higher than ours? When God makes you wait, it is not an act of indifference, but an intentional process of preparation. He is testing your patience to ensure that your heart is in alignment with His will. He wants to see if your devotion to Him is greater than your desire for the promises He has given. This is a critical distinction. God is not only interested in what He can do through you, but also in the condition of your heart as you serve Him. During the test of time, God also works behind the scenes in ways you cannot see. His timing is always perfect, and when the appointed moment arrives, He can compress what feels like years of waiting into a sudden breakthrough. As 2 Peter 3:8 reminds us, "With the Lord a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day." A waiting on God requires more than passive patience. It demands active faith. It is in these seasons that God strengthens our trust in Him and teaches us to persevere. As the psalmist declares in Psalm 27:4, "Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord." During your waiting season, consider these key steps. 1. Cultivate trust in God's promises. Remind yourself daily of His faithfulness, even when circumstances seem unchanged. 2. Pray fervently and consistently. Prayer is not only a request for God's intervention, but also a means of aligning your heart with His. 3. Serve faithfully in the present. Use the waiting period to grow, learn, and serve where God has placed you. The lessons you gain in this season will be essential for the fulfillment of your destiny. 4. Resist the urge to act prematurely. Impatience can lead to actions outside of God's will, which often result in unnecessary setbacks and pain. When you endure the test of time, You emerge with a deeper understanding of God's character and a faith that is unshakable. Just as Joseph's years of waiting prepared him to save nations during a famine, your season of waiting is preparing you for something far greater than you can imagine. Beloved, do not despise the waiting period. Instead, embrace it as a divine opportunity to grow, to deepen your faith, and to develop the perseverance that will carry you through future trials. Remember, God is never late. His timing is perfect, and His plans for you are more magnificent than anything you could orchestrate on your own. As you wait, hold on to the truth of Romans 8:2. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, trust that God is working all things together for your good. The test of time and patience is not merely a delay. It is an invitation to deepen your relationship with God, to trust Him wholeheartedly, and to prepare for the fulfillment of His promises. Through this test, you will be shaped into an unstoppable force in God's kingdom, ready to carry out His purposes with unwavering faith and steadfast endurance. Test 3. Rejection for righteousness. In today's world, where the pursuit of righteousness, holiness, and morality is often dismissed as outdated or irrelevant, standing firm in God's standards has become one of the most critical and challenging tests for the chosen ones. The test of rejection for righteousness is not just about enduring the disapproval of society, but embracing it as part of your divine calling. Our modern culture has normalized behaviors and lifestyles that were once seen as shameful or sinful. Practices like fornication, pornography consumption, and masturbation, which were previously private, are now flaunted openly, even celebrated in mainstream media. This pervasive shift in societal values places believers in a constant battle to uphold God's standards amidst a culture that seeks to erode them. To be chosen by God is to be set apart, called to a higher standard of living that often runs counter to the world's norms. Yet, this comes at a cost. The price of righteousness is often rejection. A rejection that can manifest as misunderstanding, alienation, mockery, or even outright hostility. Living righteously doesn't mean isolating yourself or severing all ties with those who don't share your faith. However, it does require that you stand firm in your convictions, even when it costs you relationships, opportunities, or worldly acceptance. It might mean refusing to compromise your values for the sake of a promotion or ending a relationship that leads you away from God's will. These sacrifices are not easy, but they are necessary for those who desire to walk in alignment with God's calling. The Apostle Paul reminds us in Romans 12:2, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." This transformation requires a deliberate rejection of what the world deems acceptable when it contradicts God's word. Scripture is filled with stories of individuals who faced rejection because of their unwavering commitment to God. Joseph, rejected and betrayed by his own brothers. He was sold into slavery because of their jealousy over his divine destiny. Yet, Joseph's faithfulness during his trials ultimately led to his exaltation and the saving of nations. Then Jeremiah, known as the weeping prophet, he was mocked, ridiculed, and even physically assaulted for boldly proclaiming God's truth. Despite the rejection, Jeremiah remained steadfast, fulfilling his prophetic calling. And Jesus Christ, our ultimate example, Jesus faced the ultimate rejection. He was despised, misunderstood, and crucified by the very people he came to save. In John 15:8, Jesus warned us, "If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first." If you face rejection for your faith, take heart. You are walking the same path as these great men and women of God. Rejection for righteousness is not a punishment, but a validation of your alignment with God's kingdom. When you stand firm in righteousness, you will inevitably feel like you no longer fit into the mold of those around you. Your choices, values, and lifestyle may seem peculiar, even threatening to others. But this is because God has set you apart for a higher purpose. While the world's validation is fleeting, God's approval is eternal. Embrace this season of rejection, for it is a season of refinement. Just as gold is purified in fire, God uses rejection to remove impurities and shape you into a vessel of honor. Each time you choose righteousness over compromise, you become stronger in spirit and more equipped for the divine assignments ahead. In Matthew 5:10-12, Jesus offers these comforting words. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. Beloved, as you journey through these tests of faith, patience, and righteousness, remember that each trial is a divine opportunity for growth and preparation. God is meticulously shaping you into a vessel for His purposes in these last days. Do not despise the process, for it is through these tests that you are refined, strengthened, and prepared to fulfill your divine destiny. While the world may reject you, remember that you are accepted, loved, and cherished by the Creator of the universe. God's approval is the only validation you need. Stand firm in your faith, embrace the cost of being chosen, and watch as God uses your life to impact His kingdom in extraordinary ways. If this message has touched your heart and given you strength to face the trials ahead, we invite you to join our community by subscribing to Power Within Awakening. Like this video to show your support and share it with your friends and family so they too can be encouraged on their journey of faith. Together, we can grow stronger and inspire one another to walk boldly in righteousness. Remember, you are not alone. You are chosen, called, and equipped for such a time as this. Stay strong, stay faithful, and watch as God unfolds His extraordinary plans for your life.